Level 1. The Recruit. You are 17 years old. You live in a village called Tansen, carved into the hills of western Nepal. Stone houses, steep paths, air that smells like pine and wood smoke. You have never left this valley. Your father was a Gurkha. His father before him was a Gurkha. The Kukri blade above the fireplace is older than any story you know. You grew up hearing about it. The British Army? The selection? The ones who made it. Nobody talked much about the ones who didn't. In January, you walk down to the recruitment centre in Pokhara. There are 400 boys from nearby villages. You know 4 by name. They all have the same look. Hungry, nervous, certain. You have been training since you were 14. Hill runs before sunrise. Weighted loads up ridge paths. Your uncle told you the selection doesn't test what you can do. It tests what you do when you have nothing left. The British Army selection is called the Doko race. You carry a 25-kilogram Doko basket, loaded with rocks, strapped to your forehead with a Namlo band, straight up a near vertical hillside called Depot Hill for 5 kilometers. Timed? No stopping. Stop, and you're finished. The morning of the race, fog sits in the valley. You can't see the top. You strap the basket on. It settles into the back of your skull like a stone. The whistle blows. By the 2nd kilometer, a boy ahead of you stops and doesn't move again. By the 4th kilometer, the path is near vertical. Your calf muscles shake. You grab the Namlo with both hands and lean into the hill. You don't think about the top. You think about the next step. You cross the finish line in 42 minutes and 9 seconds. Required time? 48 minutes. Out of 400 boys, 28 are chosen. You are one of them. That evening, your father places the Kukri in your hands. Blade cold. Handle worn smooth from decades of other hands. He says nothing. He doesn't have to. Level 2. The Rifleman. You are 18 years old. You fly for the first time in your life. The plane descends through clouds, and Catterick Garrison in North Yorkshire appears below you. Flat, grey, impossibly wide. There is no hill in sight. You are a recruit at the Infantry Training Centre, attached to the Brigade of Gurkhas. There are 25 other Nepalese recruits alongside you. You are expected to represent something old. A reputation forged in the Falklands, in Borneo, in Burma, in the blood-soaked ridges above Gallipoli. You are the newest link in a chain that stretches back to 1815. Your section corporal is Corporal Haywood. British, compact, speaks in short clipped sentences like he's rationing words. He doesn't shout the way you expected. He speaks quietly. You realise on the 3rd day that quiet is worse. Reveille at 0530. Physical training until 0700. Weapons handling. Fieldcraft. Navigation. First aid. Tactics. Lights out at 2200. You sleep like you're dead. The British recruits complain about the food. You say nothing. The food here is more than you ate most days at home. You clean your plate at every meal. Haywood notices. He says nothing, but he notices. Week 3, the range. SA-80 assault rifle. You strip and reassemble it 17 times in the first session. By the end of the day, blindfolded, under a minute 20. Week 6, night navigation on the North Yorkshire moors. Rain, fog, no moon. You make 2 wrong turns, stop, recheck, adjust, and arrive at the checkpoint at 0347, 13 minutes early. Haywood is standing there in the dark, holding a clipboard. He writes something down. You pass out in the top quarter of your platoon. You receive your cap badge, the crossed Kukris, and pin it on yourself. You are assigned to the 1st Battalion, Royal Gurkha Rifles, at Shorncliffe in Kent. 2 years later, your battalion deploys to Brunei for a jungle warfare rotation. The British Army has maintained a garrison there since 1962. The jungle is the classroom. You are always the student. Your section commander is Sergeant Kamal Thapa from Gurkha district. calm in the way that comes from having been genuinely frightened and surviving it. He says, "In the jungle, the man who moves first is usually the man who dies first. Move second, move slow, move certain. You train for 12-hour patrols through dense undergrowth. You learn to read broken branches, disturbed soil, the silence of birds. The jungle has a normal sound. When that sound stops, something has changed. One afternoon, your section freezes on the trail. A wild boar, enormous, black, close, stands 12 meters ahead. Nobody breathes. It sniffs the air, turns, crashes away. Thapa makes eye contact with you from across the trail. He almost smiles. After the patrol. The jungle teaches patience. The army will try to teach you aggression. You need both. Learn when each one applies. You write that in the notebook you keep in your breast pocket. Final assessment. 72 hours, simulated contact, no resupply. Second night. Silent approach to an objective. You are point man. 600 meters of pitch black undergrowth. Compass and pace count only. You reach the objective within 15 meters. Thapa doesn't say well done. He moves you to the front for the rest of the exercise. That is enough. Level 3, the Lance Corporal. You are 23 years old. You are promoted. Thapa hands you a slip of paper and tells you to sew on the stripe. You are responsible for 4 men now. He says it the way someone states the weather will change. Factual. No performance. You deploy to South Sudan, UNMISS, the United Nations mission in South Sudan. Civil conflict since 2013. The ceasefire exists on paper. On the ground, the paper means nothing. Juba is flat, brown, and smells like dust and diesel. You patrol in 4-man teams. Not here to fight. Here to be seen, to stabilize by presence alone. This requires a different discipline than combat. The wrong reaction in a crowded market can undo 3 months of stability in 30 seconds. Your 4 men? Rifleman Dan Gurung, 19, talks constantly. A laugh you can hear across a compound. Rifleman Bijay Rai, quiet, methodical, best shot in the section. Rifleman Pradeep Limbu, 1 deployment done, thinks that makes him experienced, which mostly it does. Rifleman Santosh Magar, boots always immaculate, regardless of conditions. Leading 4 men is not the same as being good yourself. Being good yourself is individual. Leading means staying 3 steps ahead of everyone's worst possible decision. One afternoon, your patrol moves through a market district. A group of young men begins following you, shouting. Your hand moves toward your rifle. You stop it. Keep walking. Same pace. Don't look back. Dan Gurung, new enough that you can see the tension in his shoulders. You make eye contact. You nod once. Slow. He breathes. He keeps walking. The shouting stops within a minute. Pradeep says, "That could have gone wrong." You say, "It didn't." That night, you write in your notebook. The mission is not always the objective on the map. Sometimes the mission is getting home without making anything worse. End of the rotation, Lieutenant Ashworth writes, demonstrates composure under pressure, natural authority, recommended for further responsibility. You read it once. You fold it. It goes in the notebook. Before we go further, if you've made it this far, comment what you want next. Hit that like button right now and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. We upload every single day. Level 4, the Corporal. You are 26 years old. You are posted to the Infantry Battle School in Brecon, South Wales, as a junior instructor. Cold, green, steep, permanently wet. These hills remind you of Tansen every day and nothing like it. Your job is to train junior, non-commissioned officers. You are working further back than South Sudan, building the reflex before the moment arrives, not managing it after it already has. You run a section attack exercise in the 2nd week of every course. You build in a deliberate error, a gap in the orders, an ambiguity on the ground. Something small enough that a rushing section will sail straight past it. Every section that charges forward without catching the gap fails. Every section that stops identifies the inconsistency and adjusts passes. A British corporal candidate named Whitmore, confident, loud, fills every room, approaches you after failing. He says, "We followed the orders exactly as given." You say, "Yes." He says, "Then what did we do wrong?" You say, "You trusted the orders more than you trusted what you could see in front of you." He doesn't understand yet. He will. The Gurkha's reputation was never built on blind obedience. It was built on disciplined awareness, following orders with enough intelligence to know when to question them. That tension is the hardest thing to teach. Also, the most important. In your second year at Brecon, you receive the Overseas Operational Service Medal for South Sudan. Brief ceremony. Your CO shakes your hand. A photograph is taken. You send it home to your father. He puts it on the wall beside the Kukri. Level 5, the Sergeant. You are 30 years old. You command a section of 8 men at Shorncliffe. You are responsible for their training, welfare, conduct, readiness, and the things they don't say. An army section is a small world. You know when a man isn't sleeping. You know when letters from home have stopped arriving. You know when someone cleans their weapon too fast, too mechanical, not present. One of your riflemen, Arun Tamang, 21, from Dankuta, begins to withdraw. Quiet in a way that's different from private. He stops eating full meals. He stops laughing at Dan Gurung's jokes, which is concerning because everyone laughs at Dan Gurung's jokes. One evening when the others are away, you sit near his bunk. You make tea. You hand him a cup. You wait. Then, "Talk to me." It comes slowly. His mother is seriously ill. He's been sending home nearly his full pay for 4 months. He hasn't told anyone because he doesn't want to be a problem. You listen until he's done. Then, you are not a problem. You are carrying something heavy. That is different. You get him welfare support. You arrange a satellite call home. You keep it quiet. Within 3 weeks, Tamang is eating again. Within 2 months, he is fully back. Nobody writes this part in the training manual. Your battalion deploys to Kenya in 2019 for exercise Askari Storm, combined arms exercise with Kenyan Defence Forces, semi-arid terrain north of Nanyuki, 38-degree heat, live fire section attacks, long-range patrols. Your section's performance ratings come back among the highest in the battalion. Major Harding tells you this in passing, quietly, briefly, between other things. The way important things are always said in the British Army. The notebook is nearly full. Level 6, the Colour Sergeant. You are 34 years old. In all infantry battalions of the British Army, the rank above sergeant is not Staff Sergeant, it is Colour Sergeant. The title dates to 1813, created for senior NCOs trusted to carry and protect the regimental colours in battle, the flags around which soldiers rallied when everything else broke apart. The colours are no longer carried into combat. The title remains. The weight of it is real. You are Colour Sergeant of 7 Platoon, C Company, 1st Battalion, Royal Gurkha Rifles. Responsible for the administration, discipline, logistics, and welfare of approximately 35 soldiers. Your platoon commander is Lieutenant Carver. Intelligent, keen, still learning that confidence and certainty are not the same thing. You are not his superior in rank. You are his memory, his anchor, and occasionally his correction. This requires a particular skill, letting a young officer lead while ensuring he doesn't lead into a wall. You must support his authority in front of the platoon while redirecting him privately. Get it wrong in either direction and the platoon loses trust in its command structure. You get it right by never making Carver feel small. In 2021, your battalion deploys to Mali as part of Operation Newcombe, the British contribution to MINUSMA, the UN stabilization mission in the Sahel. The terrain is unlike anything in your experience. Flat, vast, the heat dry rather than wet, the threat dispersed and invisible, IEDs on dirt tracks, armed groups that appear and vanish. Your platoon operates from a forward operating base near Gao. Your role as colour sergeant is to keep the platoon running. Ammunition, vehicle maintenance, casualty evacuation planning, rations, welfare, communications. When the fighting elements go out, everything behind them must work perfectly so they can come back. One morning, a resupply vehicle hits a pressure plate IED on a track 4 kilometers out. 2 soldiers wounded, neither critically. You coordinate the evacuation from the FOB, communicating with the incident site, directing the medical vehicle, managing the information flow so Carver, who is at the scene, can focus on his men instead of his radio. When the casualties arrive at the gate, you are standing there. Carver returns 2 hours later. He finds you. He says, "Thank you." You say, "That's the job, sir." He nods. He understands now what Colour Sergeant means. Your deployment assessment reads, "Outstanding performance under sustained operational pressure. Natural mentor to both junior ranks and junior officers." You fold it. You put it in the second notebook. Level 7, the Staff Sergeant. You are 37 years old. You move into a specialist appointment, the Battalion Intelligence Cell. Your formal rank is now Staff Sergeant, which at this tier of the British Army structure designates a specialist or technical function rather than a frontline infantry role. You spend 8 weeks at the Defence Intelligence and Security Centre at Chicksands, Bedfordshire. What you learn there changes how you read every situation you have ever been in. Most conflict is information failure. Most bad decisions come not from lack of courage, but from acting on an incomplete picture. Your job is to make the picture more complete before the decision has to be made. Long hours in low-lit rooms, cross-referencing patrol reports, updating threat overlays, writing assessments that most people read in 2 minutes after you spent 14 hours producing them. One afternoon, a young analyst named Davies, fresh from Chicksands, technically correct, perfectly formatted, presents a threat assessment that misses a pattern buried in 30 days of patrol data. A quiet shift in opposition movement timing that suggests a change in intent. Easy to miss, lethal if missed at the wrong moment. You wait until the brief is over. You sit with Davies and the patrol reports. You don't tell him he was wrong. You walk him through the data until he finds the pattern himself. He goes pale. He says, "If Bravo call sign had gone out on that route." You say, "They didn't. Now you will see this next time." In 2022, your battalion goes to sustained high readiness for 4 months. Daily briefings, continuous threat updates, constant coordination with brigade. Your cell produces over 300 intelligence assessments. 0 significant errors. Your CO writes, "Exceptionally capable, quiet professional, makes the battalion operate at a level above its stated capacity." You read it once. Some things you just remember. The second notebook is full. You buy a third. Level 8, the Warrant Officer Class 2. You are 40 years old. You are appointed Company Sergeant Major of B Company, 1st Battalion, Royal Gurkha Rifles, the principal appointment for a Warrant Officer Class 2 in an infantry battalion. You hold your authority not by commission, but by royal warrant, signed in the name of the Crown. You are the senior soldier in B Company's 120-man world. The commissioned officers manage the strategy. You manage the reality. The distinction matters every day. A young lieutenant can issue an order that is tactically sound and logistically impossible. Your job is to close that gap before it becomes a crisis, without making the lieutenant feel undermined. This requires the ability to solve a problem while letting someone else believe they solved it. Not everyone can do this. You know all 120 soldiers, not just names. You know who has been struggling since the last deployment. You know whose child is ill back in Nepal. You know who performs above their assessment because they fear you, and who performs above it because they genuinely want to be better. These are not the same thing. They require entirely different responses. Your company deploys to Poland as part of NATO's enhanced forward presence. The multinational battle group at Orsis in the Warmia-Masuria region, 80 kilometers from the Kaliningrad enclave. The mission is deterrence. You are here to make the cost of aggression legible. You operate alongside Polish, American, and Croatian troops. Different equipment standards, different communication protocols, different command cultures. One evening, a Polish warrant officer named Marek Kowalski wants to compare section tactics. You sit down with him, a map between you, and spend 2 hours working through approaches, hand signals where words fail, diagrams on the back of a patrol log. By the end, neither of you has changed your method, but you understand each other's, which means you can operate together when it matters. That is what deterrence actually looks like. Not firepower alone. Competence, trust, and visible presence. Your third notebook is nearly full. Level 9. The Warrant Officer Class 1. You are 44 years old. You are appointed Regimental Sergeant Major of the 1st Battalion, Royal Gurkha Rifles. There is 1 RSM per battalion. 1. The RSM is the most senior soldier appointment in a British Army battalion, the highest rank that does not carry a haute commission. You are responsible for the standards, discipline, welfare, and conduct of every soldier. Approximately 550 men. You sit in the space between the soldier and the commanding officer that no other rank occupies. You translate. You buffer. You hold. You now wear the royal coat of arms on your lower sleeve. Authority granted by royal warrant, signed in the name of the king. The ceremony is brief. The outgoing RSM hands you the pace stick, the traditional symbol of the RSM's authority. You take it with both hands. You think about Depot Hill in Pokhara, the fog, the Doko on your back. You are very far from that hill. Your door is always open, which means it is always occupied. Welfare cases, discipline matters, career counseling, training cycle coordination, standards enforcement. You attend orders groups as the CO's senior advisor. You speak when asked and occasionally when not, because the RSM's role has always included the obligation to give honest counsel, whether or not it is comfortable to give. Your CO is Lieutenant Colonel Sanjay Kapoor. Sharp, politically aware, respected, good. He also sometimes moves faster than his information supports. You are the constructive friction in his system, the kind that produces better outcomes. He wants to compress a pre-deployment training cycle from 12 weeks to 8. The operational reason is real. The cost to readiness is not in his plan. You say, "Sir, compressing to 8 weeks removes the third exercise phase. That is where the last 2 cohorts found their most critical individual gaps. 10 weeks, with the third phase restructured to run concurrently with admin week. Same deployment readiness, less erosion." He looks at the plan. He agrees. You nod and leave. In 2024, your battalion deploys to Cyprus, British Forces Cyprus, for a regional stabilization operation in the Eastern Mediterranean. You remain at battalion headquarters, logistics, family welfare support, the administrative machinery that keeps 550 men operational. Nobody makes a documentary about this part, but without it, none of the other parts work. At the Dekalia Garrison ranges, watching your soldiers run section attacks across dry scrubland, you open your third notebook, full. You start a fourth. Level 10. The Legend. You are 48 years old. You did not make it here by being the strongest or the fastest. You know men who were stronger. You know men who were faster. Some are still serving. Some left. Some are gone in ways that don't appear on any official document. You are here because you kept learning when it would have been easier to assume you already knew. Because you watched and listened when others were busy performing. Because you found a way to lead without making people feel small. Because on the morning of the Doko race, when your legs had nothing left and you couldn't see the top, you stopped thinking about the summit and thought only about the next step. You never really stopped thinking that way. Your final ceremonial parade is held at Shorncliffe Garrison on a cold, clear November morning. The sky is white. Everything casts a hard shadow. The 1st Battalion on parade in full dress. 550 men. Crossed Kukris on every cap badge. You stand at the front. You have been told you may say something. You think about what your father said when he placed the Kukri in your hands in Tansen. He said nothing. You understood everything. You think about Sergeant Thapa, somewhere in the Brunei dark. Move second. Move slow. Move certain. You think about Arun Tamang, who was carrying something too heavy to carry alone, and who came back. You think about Lieutenant Carver at the FOB gate in Mali, shaken, holding, learning in real time what colour sergeant means. You think about Davies going pale in a low-lit room, finding the pattern he almost missed. You think about Marek Kowalski in Orzis, a patrol log between you, drawing until you understood each other. You look out at 550 men. You say, the Kukri has 2 edges. One is for cutting through what stands in your way. The other, the notch at the base of the blade, the cho, is there so the blood runs off before it reaches the handle, so that what you carry does not make your grip slip. You pause. You will carry a great deal, carry what you must, but know where the cho is. The parade dismisses. You hand the pace stick to your successor, a warrant officer from Ilam district, 39 years old, a notebook worn in his breast, pocket, steadiness in his eyes that you recognize. You shake his hand. You walk off the parade ground for the last time in uniform. The mountains of home are more than 7,000 kilometers away, but you carried them across every patrol, every deployment, every welfare conversation, every freezing morning and impossible hill, every quiet decision nobody saw but everyone benefited from. You started as a boy from Tansen who could carry rocks uphill fast enough that the British Army noticed. You leave as something the British Army will spend the next generation trying to produce again. The Kukri is back above the fireplace. It is time to go home.